So Ye has finally apologized. Some might say he's even woken up. Wake up, Mr. West! If you guys don't know, Ye has been on a whole whirlwind of issues in the past 10 years, probably it feels like at this point. But he's came out into the Wall Street Journal. He took out an ad to release an apology, which I have here on screen. I would read it to you guys, but it's pretty long and you guys can, do some practice for reading. I know a lot of people aren't reading nowadays, so go ahead and read this while you listen to this video. And my thing is, do I think Ye is being genuine? Do I really think he thinks what he did was wrong? The spreading of certain anti-Semitic rhetoric and Nazi symbolism and, slavery was a choice and all these different things that he's been offensive to a lot of people for the past 10 years and all this. And, not saying he's blaming it on his bipolar, but accepting that he is bipolar and just kind of saying that I didn't take it serious. The medical examiners weren't really examining my brain trauma from the car crash 20 years ago and all these different things. And while I see his points, while I see that this is obviously a long-lasting trauma with his brain and car crash, like if you've ever seen pictures of the car from the car crash, you would think like, wow, it's crazy that you even came out unscathed. It would be crazy to think that you would come out unscathed, but he had a broken jaw. Like that was a whole reason why he blew up, because of through the wire. So to think that your jaw gets broken and then your brain is somehow normal, yeah, I can understand how that would have long-lasting effects. Now there comes to a point where is your own narcissism coming into play? Where's your own self-belief and what you believe is right in this kind of like God mentality that you had later on in your career come into play of whether or not you're actually getting the correct help that you need? Are you stopping people from helping you when they are in there for your best interest, your family, your friends? Some people might say yes, man, and that's the reason why he went down the path he did. Like for the past 10 years, since the Life of Pablo tour, people have been, labeling him as crazy, and he didn't like it. And he even explains in the apology that he felt like it was a superpower, like he has a cape, and that people are kind of like diminishing what he can bring to the world because this label that he got placed from some doctor that he doesn't even trust in the medical field and all these things, the Illuminati and all these conspiracies that he was playing with and putting into people's heads and kind of confirming it like, no, this is a real thing. And people were just like, Kanye, you're crazy. And then the other people were like, no, he's right. He's finally exposing the secrets of the industry of Hollywood and the world and politics, the New World Order. And it was just like, what is going on? And then I thought for a second and I said, wait a minute. This is Ye we're talking about. This is the man who has always surrounded himself with controversy. Obviously, the car accident isn't a controversy, but it was a very jaw-dropping, no pun intended, but it was jaw-dropping to like hear about this. Then as soon as he's big and famous, he says George Bush doesn't care about black people. That obviously is going to get a lot of the people who are poor, who are black, who are people of color on board because they already feel like the government is against them. So a big famous rapper coming out and saying this during an era where all the rappers only cared about were like money and women and drugs and bling era kind of stuff. It was like, wow, that's refreshing. And I can stand with this guy. I feel like this guy is going to be the next Tupac in terms of like political revolutionary kind of rhetoric. Then a few years pass and Taylor Swift happens. Him coming out against a white girl, America's sweetheart, and saying that a black woman should have won the best music award at all time. Obviously, the media wasn't going to be on board with that. A lot of people in terms of like his fan base were okay with it because they agreed with him that Single Ladies was the best music video at the time. I think it was Single Ladies that it was competing. I keep forgetting which video it was, but you guys can let me know in the comments. And then you could argue that Taylor Swift blew up from that. So the repercussions for that were like, yeah, he got canceled, you could say. But because he dropped My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, it was like, okay, all's forgiven. We forgot how great you are, Kanye. You're a genius. And then he goes on this whole genius thing. Now he wants to move on into fashion. Now the obstacles in fashion are way different than they are in music, because in fashion, the people at the top are like big families and big corporations that you don't just get to find your way in. You have to be like invited. And even if you are invited, you're only invited to sell product. You know, like that whole Lady Gaga Polaroid speech that he was talking about, that he wasn't given real creative power. That was his problem with Nike, later on Adidas, and all these things. And it was just like, oh wow, this guy's always around controversy. And if you even listen to the music on Yeezus, he talks about privately owned prisons, the fashion industry only respecting him if he picks the cotton, being like an allude to that you're black, you don't have a space in fashion, you can never make something truly artistic here. Maybe in music, where we've allowed you to control the radio airwaves, we'll let you guys have a little play in that, but fashion, clothes, factories, no. You're biting off more than you can chew right now. You're not ready for that. We're not that revolutionary. We're not that progressive, right? That's at least the fashion community at the time. He had a lot of, problems with that. He had a lot of frustrations. He put out his music and all these things. It was bubbling up. 2016, Life of Pablo comes out. He still has the same problem. And his wife gets into a robbery. His kids are now in the world. So now he feels like extra protective. He gets labeled as crazy. He gets sent to the hospital, in some UCLA hospital. He feels like they're drugging him. They're taking advantage of him. They're like getting all this thing. And then that crazy label really stops any momentum that he had in the fashion world, or any of these kind of like things that he was venturing off into. And then he just starts going in multiple directions. He has a religious moment where he's like super into church, gospel stuff. He starts his own church, which some people say it's like a tax write-off and things like this. But then he drops great projects with like Kid Cudi, with Kids See Ghosts, Tiana Taylor, Pusha T, all these people. And it's just like, wow, like you have your hands in a lot of pots right now. Like, yeah, maybe you should just take a seat back and just, chill out. Like maybe you just get away from everything, reset. You don't have to be always in the limelight. Like you're so big that no matter when you come back, you will still have the ears of a lot of people. Like you don't need to constantly keep the machine oiled, right? 2020 comes and, he's beefing with a lot of different people. He's beefing with Drake and all these things. He releases Donda, which is another great project at the time. So it re-sparks his narcissism or his confidence or whatever you want to call it. And now he's feeling like he's on top of the world again. He's going back in at Adidas. He's trying to get rid of the Adidas deal. So he starts saying anti-Semitic things because Adidas is formerly, I think the rumors that they were founded by Nazis or something like that. So like he's trying to like bring focus to that. At the same time, the music industry, the record owners and label companies, he's bringing the attention that a lot of them happen to be Jewish, which I don't think is a cult Illuminati thing. It just happens to be great businessmen. I don't think them being Jewish has nothing to do with it. So he's going at them to try to get his masters. He's pointed out this. He's saying black people are, slaves to different things, modern slavery, right? And it just keeps going, and he doesn't stop. He gets deeper and deeper, and his remarks are harder and darker and all these things. And it's just like, who is this guy? And I feel like exhausted from just explaining his history for the past 20 something years. But that's what made me sit down and think like, his apology might not be genuine. This might be just another way to get everybody on board again, to listen to his music, to fund his next venture, the same old cat and mouse game. How many times are we going to fall for the same tactics? And a lot of people keep following them for the rest of their lives. And that's why they're so popular, or some manipulation tactics that people write books about, 48 laws of powers and all these things, because you realize a lot of people are going to keep falling for this. They're going to keep accepting Ye because they think Ye has their best interests at heart. They don't think he's a selfish individual. They don't think any of these things. I don't know the guy personally, so I'm not going to label him as a selfish type of person or any things like this. But I will say, my allegiance is as much as it is to a stranger. Yeah, I'll check out your music. Yeah, I could separate the art from the artist. And I can say, yeah, this was a great project. I liked a few songs. Nah, this shit was trash, or anything like this, depending on how it sounds and what you're saying and, all this kind of stuff. But me come out and defend you against your critics, for the people who are offended by your public remarks and your public antics and things like this, that's I'm not your lawyer. I'm not your family. I'm not your friend. I'm not gonna come here and do that. I'm just gonna be like, okay, you apologize. Let's see you actually practice what you preach, right? You started a church, right? You understand the gospel and all these kind of things according to your understanding of the book. So let's see if you can actually show that you should be deserving of forgiveness. I'm not a religious person that much. I grew up obviously in a religious household, but to sit here and say that someone like this is gonna like garner my forgiveness that quickly, I'm just gonna be like, nah, man, like, I like your music. That's pretty much it. Like, I don't know you as a person. I don't really buy your clothes because a lot of them are expensive. I like some of the jackets, you could say. The shoes aren't really my thing. But yeah, it's just kind of like, you know, hopefully you get the help that you think you need. You come out here and talk about addressing the bipolarness, the frontal lobe injury and all these things, and I hope you don't just use this to just make people forgive you, because if not, that's a real fucked up thing to do. So you guys let me know, do you guys think Ye has truly genuinely apologized? Do you think he's gonna go back on this, and the next album he releases is gonna be full of the anti-Semitism or something even crazier things to say? Like, I don't know what the next crazy thing he'd talk about, I guess, is maybe like, I don't even want to say it, but you guys let me know what you guys think about Ye's apology and all this kind of stuff. Comment down below what you guys want me to check out next, and make sure to subscribe to the channel.